Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Reactions. We have a great show for you. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a nice little waltz down memory lane for me and my co-host, I know. So we're not going to waste any time. Let's get the pleasantries out of the way. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me is the Jaeger to my Kaz, the David Motters. David, brother, what's up?
What's up? That's a good one, man. Jaeger to Kaz. Like you said, this is a waltz down memory lane. I'm really, when you mentioned this, anniversary episode to do, 5th anniversary episode of the premiere of Resistance, I was like pumped. I love it. And we had a good time covering it. So I am ready to react. And again, always thankful to be recording with you, buddy.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a blast. And this has been, when I saw it was the 5th anniversary, this was something I knew we had to do because, we had some fun reviewing this show back in the day. For those of you unaware, the 7th of October of 2023 was the 5th anniversary of the premiere of the animated series Star Wars Reaction. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, Star Wars Reactions. Holy snot. Carabast.
All right.
Yeah, we're starting off good here. And it was a short-lived animated show, of course, which aired on Disney XD. It, like I said, premiered 5 years ago, so it was October 7th, 2018 when it premiered, and ran for 2 seasons, and the series finale was released on January 26th, 2020, and of course, all the episodes aired on Disney XD. And of course, the reason it's a walk down memory lane, because we are recording this particular episode, episode 146 of Star Wars Reactions, on October 12th of 2023. And ironically, I did not know this till, Facebook provides these lovely memories. And ironically, the date we're recording this is the 5-year anniversary of when David and I hosted the very first episode of Resistance Reactions back when we were a part of the Coffee with Kenobi network. And so we're celebrating all kinds of anniversaries today, my friend.
That's right. I love it. And I mentioned this to Aaron, and I just want to give a quick shout out. My dad would have turned 80 years old today on October 12th. And so it is a special day for a number of different reasons. And so I'm so glad that we are recording today. This is a good day.
It is. We're going to have a good time, and it's going to be awesome. So let's talk about Star Wars Resistance. You ready, David?
I'm ready.
All right. So this animated show was helmed by veterans of Star Wars animation. The executive producer in charge of everything, of course, was the fabulous Dave Filoni for president. There were 3 other executive producers that actually ran the show. Justin Ridge, Brandon Auman, and Atina Portillo. Justin Ridge was also the supervising director of all the episodes as well. The series also, unlike Rebels and Clone Wars, was not composed by Kevin Kiner, but by Michael Tavera. This series, this series basically follows the journey of one Kazuda, aka Kaz Xiono, as he goes undercover as a mechanic / pilot on an out in the outer rim to investigate the First Order involvement on a refueling outpost called the Colossus, out on the planet called Castellan. Now, the setting for this series overlaps the sequels, actually. It starts before the events of The Force Awakens and overlaps in The Last Jedi. So it falls into that sequel time frame. And was honestly, and I think David will agree with me when I say this, was a very underrated show. There was a lot out there, a lot of negativity toward the show and a lot of negativity toward the sequels. But I think this took a bad rap because of some of that negativity.
Yeah. And I would say this too, because you put it in talking points here. Justin Ridge talked about this, he said, this is targeted for like 8 to 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Like when I was 8 to 12 watching Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And I don't know that people really accepted that, you think, Aaron? I mean, because it's almost like they felt like it should be, Clone Wars or Rebels,
Well, I think the thing is with Resistance, it got hammered on two fronts. One, unfortunately, was the negativity toward everything that happened with The Last Jedi. And I think the other part of that is when people think Star Wars animation, up to that point, it had been Rebels and it had been Clone Wars. And especially Clone Wars had started off and was targeted as a kid show, but just progressed into what it was. And Rebels kind of was not designed to be a kid show, but it was elevated a little above that. And this was targeted, and Resistance was targeted toward 9, 10, 11-year-olds. The animation, the story, the comedy was that's the kind of stuff you would expect in those kind of shows. And it just didn't measure up to the adult animation that you would expect from the Clone Wars and Rebels when you think about it. Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree.
So, but it was a fabulous series. Like we said, very underrated. Depending on how you list the episodes, they had 3 2-part episodes through both seasons. So if you just combine the 2 3-part, all three of the 2-parters, you had 36 episodes total between the 2 seasons. But if you split them up, you had 39 between the 2 seasons. But this also had a series of 12 shorts that aired mid-season of season 1. They got up to that holiday break around Christmas and New Year's. So they took a couple weeks off and airing new episodes, and they released these 12 shorts, which are absolutely fabulous. I'm a little surprised they're not on Disney Plus, or if they are, I couldn't find them. But they all, oh my gosh, I am tongue-tied tonight, my friend. Caravast. They are all on YouTube, which is where I watched them all. And if you saw my post earlier in the week when I posted on our social media, I was actually rewatching the entire series this week, which was fun. I actually binge watched all all 39 or 36, however you want to look at it, episodes, and the 12 shorts in like 4 days. It was awesome. It was awesome, but it was a blast. Now, one of the things that I wanted to address, because with Rebels and with Clone Wars, we saw something that you did not see a lot of in animation, which is you have a cast of voice actors who come together and actually mesh and become more of a family and have a fun making the show. They took ownership in the show. And that happened again with Resistance. And because they did end up having a fabulous cast. And I just want to run through it because you can't talk about the show without giving these people props for doing it. Without these voice actors, there would be no Resistance. So it started off with the star of the show, who was Kazuda Kazuyano, was voiced by Christopher Sean, the actor Christopher Sean. Jarek Yeager, who owned the Yeager repair shop there on the Colossus, who also was a former Rebellion pilot, was voiced by the talented Scott Lawrence. My favorite Nico Vozo was voiced by Josh Brenner. Tamra Vora, one of the mechanics in Yeager's Garage, voiced by Susie McGrath. Then, of course, we got into all of the ace pilots, who are the racers there on the Colossus. You have, of course, Myrna Velasco, who voiced Tora Doza. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, you may recognize that name. She did voices in Rebels. She was oh my gosh.
Arinda Price. Yep.
Yes, Governor Price, Arinda Price. I'm like, I just had her name on the tip of my tongue, and it left me. But she did ace pilot Freya Fenris, and she also was the voice of the administration assistant droid, 4D M1N, or admin.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Then, of course, the fabulous Stephen Stanton was the voice of Griff Halloran. Donald Faison was the voice of Hype Faison. These are all, of course, racers as well. Bo Keevil, the last of our racers here, voiced by none other than Dave Filoni for president, aka Chopper. Then, of course, you got into some of the background characters on the station as well. Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live fame voiced a character named Orca. Jim Rash Flicks, they owned the acquisitions shop or supply depot on the Colossus. Very funny pair, very funny. D. Bradley Baker, of course, all the clones from Clone Wars and Rex and Rebels. Of course, the voice of Grievil. Tova Felchua voiced Aunt Z, who was the proprietor of the bar. And I just realized I failed to put down Jason Hightower, who was the voice of Captain Doza, the commanding officer of the Colossus. I omitted that from my cast list. I apologize, sir, wherever you are. The show would not have been the same without you. Then, of course, we get into our Imperials. We have Liam McIntyre as Commander Pyre. You may recognize him as the Golden Stormtrooper. His armor is all gold. We had Lex Lang as Major Von Reg. He was a TIE pilot, flew a red TIE Interceptor, First Order Interceptor, and was all in red. Sumali Montano as Agent Tierney, kind of like an ISB for the First Order. Nazneen Contractor was Sonara Sand. She was a redeemed pirate. Then, of course, we had some huge guest stars throughout this series as well. We had none other than Frodo Baggins himself. Elijah Wood guest starred in a couple episodes as pilot Jace Rucklin. Gwendolyn Christie returned to the silver armor master of the First Order, Captain Phasma. And of course, none other than Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron himself, doing the voice of Poe for this show as well. I got to ask you, David, because I want to get your thoughts, because as we've gone over this cast and we've talked about the crew, what thoughts do you have about the cast and crew that was put together to run the show?
Well, I think like anything, it's outstanding. When you look at Athena Portillo, right? She's been there forever with Dave Filoni, and she was a big part of this. Brandon Allman, I believe I was just blocking. Is he on Bad Batch? I was blocking on that, whether he is or not. But Justin Ridge, yeah. Now Justin Ridge, he was supervising director, executive producer on this thing. Just, I don't know how long ago it was, on This Week in Star Wars, he was, Christian Baver had interviewed all the people who were behind the Vision Season 2 entries, right? Mm-hmm. And he was working, I'm trying to remember who he's working alongside now, and I'd have to look at the list of visions, but it's the one where they're trying to get their freedom, and they dig that hole, and they're looking for kyber crystals down there. And the one kid climbs out, tells the city what's going on, and he gets thrown back in. I was trying to remember the name of that one, but he's still there. And that was a really incredible episode of Visions. Seemed very powerful, very moving. So, Justin Ridge knows what he's doing, and of course worked on Clone Wars with Dave Filoni. So you got an incredible crew there. The cast, in terms of the voice actors, I love Christopher Sean. What a neat guy he is, and Scott Lawrence as Jaeger. Josh Brenner's voice as Nico is so fun. Myrna Velasco, I love her as Torredoza. Absolutely love her. And then, of course, I love Steven Stanton. Wish there was more of him as Griff Halloran in this, but loved him there. But then the other is Bobby Moynihan. I really, really like him. And so him as Orca, I just got the biggest kick out of it. And he did as well. Of course, he's gone on to work on Tales from Galaxy's Edge, and stuff. I think he's the barkeep there on Batu, and stuff. So yeah, just incredible. And last night going over, some of the episodes, hearing Oscar Isaac and Gwendolyn Christie, because that was, and I'll get to it later when we talk about some of our favorite episodes. Hearing Oscar Isaac and Gwendolyn Christie was really cool, and for them to do this was really cool. Yes. So there's just a few of my thoughts about the voice actors and the crew behind this.
Oh, absolutely. And it was fun to have them come into their roles. And honestly, I think as much as I enjoyed it when I watched it then, having them come back, rewatching the series this week actually was so much fun. And it made their roles, them coming back, especially Oscar Isaac, just made so much sense, and it made so much impact on the story that it really worked. It really was fun. And he cracked me up more times than I can count, man. He just had you could tell he was having fun playing Poe again.
Yeah, definitely.
So a couple of things we want to talk about before we get into, like our favorite characters and favorite moments from the shows and episodes and stuff like that. There were a lot of things that happened through this series that they really don't get credit for. The cast, the writers, the directors, producers, and a lot of it, like I said, it was we discussed it a few minutes ago, how it was targeted toward children, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, targeted toward them. But we ended up seeing some pretty intense and heavy story told through this kid show. And the reason it worked so well is because it was interwoven through just a plethora of comedic elements to almost lighten the severity of what was going on. And I thought the way they were telling those stories worked perfectly for a kid show. For example, we had genocide addressed in the series with the children of Tehar. Kel and, oh gosh, I just blanked her name. Kel, I keep wanting to say Ayla, but I don't think that's right.
I know I'm blocking too. I'm usually there to help you, but I'm blocking.
Oh, Lord, what is their name? It's going to bother me now. All right. IMDb, where is it?
No, I can see this one looking at it.
I could see their faces.
Oh yeah. Both characters. Yeah, you and I talked about this back at the time, and because when Dan Z asked us to cover this, we went from Rebels reactions to Resistance reactions, and of course now we're Star Wars reactions. So kind of this whole progression, but that was something that you and I did talk about. You and I looked for different things and different ways to cover this show. Because, look, there wasn't, as far as I could tell, a lot of podcasts covering this. They just didn't, and we did. And one of the things we did, besides my Creature Corner, I had a blast with that. That was fun. I was looking back at all my notes. This is before Aaron and I were doing the notes on Google Docs. I have them all right here, and because Aaron had said that, he goes, "Hey Dave, go look for your notes," and I did, and I have them all right here in a Star Wars podcasting folder, and just had a great time looking back at our notes, or my notes. Aaron has his and stuff, but we looked at Creature Corner. I tried to do that. We looked at these deeper elements, the heavy themes, and one of them was genocide. But did you get her name?
I was right. It was Elia.
Oh, okay.
I was right.
So non-Carabas moment, yeah.
Non-Carabas moment. So Kel and Elia were brother and sisters who were the only survivors of the planet Tehar, which was destroyed by the First Order. So it dealt with them. It dealt with the genocide. I even up one episode later in the series, Kaz ends up obviously on what's left of Tehar with Poe Dameron, and it really hits home when you're seeing these type of visuals of destroyed planets and destroyed bombed out cities and villages. It really is hard, and really can hit home. And of course, one of the other things that happened during this series, during the second season, toward the end of the second season, we had torture being done. Agent Tierney captured Jarek Yeager and Sanara San and literally was torturing them on screen. She had the little shocking devices like was used on Rey and on then of course on Han and Empires, and was just literally electrocuting them and shocking them, trying to get information. So you have those type of elements that are just being filtered into this kid show, which just made it, especially during the second season, a lot darker than the first, because the galaxy's at war.
Yeah. I mean, there's some real, like I said, you and I know all this because we covered it in depth. for 2 seasons. You and I covered every episode. And so that's what we tried to bring out, is that there is some really important things that they cover, that they do. It is surprising to me a bit, and I think I talked about this a bit that many years ago, that they did have that torture or even genocide, in a show that is specifically targeted towards kids, that are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, I also remember in Rebels reactions, kind of the controversy when Hera got captured by Arinda Price. We were talking about Governor Price. And not only was she tortured, but she was drugged. You remember that? I think Hera got that needle to the neck. And even there in Rebels, I mean, I remember you and I going, ooh, okay, all right. You and I are just trying, catching our breath on that. So they've gone there, in some different series. But for this one, I think, it was like I said, it's one thing to have some of this specifically when it's animation for adults and stuff like that. But for this, those were pretty difficult ones to see.
Yeah, it really was. But like I said earlier, they compensated with those deep, heavy story themes by just a overabundance of comedic elements throughout the episode, which worked out to its advantage, and I would almost say sometimes to their disadvantage, because I think some people were turned off by the amount of slapstick, childish slapstick comedy.
That's 100% true what you just said. I know some people were really turned off by Kaz's slapstick, but it was there for a reason.
Oh, and it wasn't just Kaz. It was Kaz was there. Flix and Orca were good for comic relief. Niku would always have something to say to make you laugh. Some of Poe Dameron's stuff was there exactly for a laugh. And it really filtered through and made some of those heavy moments pretty light for kids. So they were getting told this stuff exists, this stuff is happening, but they're not making it so overbearing and depressing that kids are, freaking out about, is our world going to be destroyed? Exactly. I don't want to be tortured.
Yeah.
But they also showed the good in the galaxy as well. People helping each other, people coming to each other's rescue. And one of the things I loved about this series was again something that we see prevalent throughout Star Wars, is that story of a family, the only word that's coming out is inconvenient, but that's not the right word. It's not your normal family, but
found family.
Yes, like it's a story of a found family, and then there's also the story of redemption, which is prevalent throughout Star Wars, and it's prevalent in here as we see Tam Rivora, who feels betrayed by Jarek and Kaz because she had no clue he was a spy for the Resistance, and ends up running off and joining the First Order as a TIE pilot, thinking that, they're the better choice because my friends, my family lied to me. And we see her go down that journey of, this is where she wants to be. Do I really want to be here? To what have I done?
Right.
And I love that scene in I think the episode was called Rebuilding the Resistance, where that freighter full of Resistance recruits gets blown up by Rucklin, by Jason Rucklin, and she's sitting there in her TIE fighter and watching it happen, and she's like, what am I doing? She literally says that. She goes, what am I doing? As the realization set in, this is not where I belong. This is not right. And then what's awesome is she then acts on that. She reaches out and contacts Kaz, sets up a meeting, and ends up returning home by the end of the series, to the Colossus and to her family. And I love the fact that we had that redemption journey in the show.
Yeah.
Oh boy, still a lot to talk about and go through. Anything you want to talk about the elements before we go into favorite characters and moments and stuff like that?
No, because through those I can kind of tie in a few of the comments I have, but I think they'll fit good with our favorites, the sets of favorites that we're going to cover.
Perfect. Well, we're going to go into those, but before we do, we're going to take a quick break. So hang with us. We'll be right back as we continue to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Star Wars Resistance. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We're talking Star Wars Resistance. And before the break, you heard us discuss a lot about the show, themes, and talked about the cast and crew. So let's talk about what we liked about the show. Let's talk about some of our favorite things about the show. And of course, you can't have one of these discussions without discussing who is your favorite character. And like I said, there are a whole bunch of characters that we went through the main cast and everybody and supporting cast, but there are so many other characters in the mix here. And of course, I one of the things I put in there was to find out who our favorite character is. Of course, I know back when we did Resistance reactions, OP Pitt was our unofficial mascot. OP Pitt was the janitor.
I love that. Love him.
I love that guy, man. He is always in the background. You'll always see him in each episode. He's going through with his floor scrubber. Then of course the episode where the First Order take it away. Yeah. And then he's scrubbing it with a brush and before he finally gets it back. Oh my gosh. OP Pitt was the bomb. So it can't be OP Pitt because we both know we both love OP Pitt. So David, go ahead, take the floor. Who is your favorite character from Resistance?
Yeah, no, I'm with you because I figured we'd both put OP Pitt, and I was trying to remember if he was the unofficial mascot of our podcast or if he was the official mascot of our podcast.
we always called him the unofficial mascot.
Okay, all right.
Resistance reactions.
Love OP Pitt. So I this actually ties into what I was saying just before the break about just a few of the little comments, and what I was going to say here is my favorite character as I look back over all my notes and think back to the 2 seasons actually is Poe Dameron in this. I thought about this because the little comment I was going to make is, what they did with Star Wars Resistance is they're like, well, how do you tie this to the bigger story? And they did it by having some familiar characters, and Poe and BB-8 were that. It was critical. And I thought about it with Rebels, how Dave Filoni, on Droids in Distress, they have C-3PO and R2 to tie it to, the larger Star Wars universe and stuff like that. So I see them using Poe Dameron here, very similar as to what they did, like I said, with C-3PO and R2 in Rebels, tying these stories to the bigger narrative, the bigger mythology. So like you mentioned, Aaron, his the comedic element, the lines that they gave Oscar Isaac, I just thought it was great. I loved hearing, it being him, being Oscar Isaac and not some other person doing Poe Dameron, just really lends so much credence to it. I don't know. I just really loved him in the episodes and how he was used and how he recruited Kaz to be a First Order, or a Resistance spy for Resistance. So just really, really like him in this series.
Very good. Very good. I like that. He was a fabulous character, and they have always done good with bringing in characters from other parts of the saga to can make those connections. They did it a lot during. They really didn't have to do it during Clone Wars, but they did it. They did it several times during Rebels, and it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
For me, I got to go with my boy. I got to go with Niku, dude. I loved that. I love that green Nikto. He cracks me up. He always came through when you were in a bind, whether it was as a comic relief or whether as an engineering genius, which he was. He always came through. He was always reliable. He always had a smile on his face. And one of my favorite things from back during when we were doing resistance reactions was I would do Niku saying of the week.
Yes.
And there's some random saying that Nico would do. One's like where he's like, I like food. And as he goes walking off the air, just keeps saying food. Just random stuff like that. Or Kaz said something about being thrown off the platform. And they're like, why would they throw you off? Just really random things like, they were getting ready for battle, and he looks at Captain Doza, goes, Captain Doza, sir, my excitement for adventure is no longer here. I'm now scared, nervous, and terrified.
Yes.
It's like just things like that were just out of the blue, made that character so much fun for me. So definitely Niku is my favorite character. Honestly, followed by a close second though by Kaz, because Kaz actually had the character of Kaz from the first episode to the character we see by the end of the series has completely transformed. He is not he still has a little bit of the slapstick, but he has grown, he has matured, and he's realizing there's more. He's realizing there's more to life, and that if there's going to be hope, he needs to be involved, and not just like in a cockpit. He's got to be out there fighting for people, because before it was just him wanting to prove something, but by the end of the series, it was him wanting to do something.
Well said.
So, love it. So let's go into favorite moments from the series. Now, these can be moments just from any episode, from the shorts, doesn't matter. But these are just episode or moments that either made you laugh, made you cry, made you have fun, whatever they are. I only when I did the notes, I put a spot for 3. So to try to keep it simple. And I figured, David, we can alternate back and forth. You could do one, I'll do one, and we'll just alternate back and forth. So let us go ahead and start with your favorite moments. David, what's your number 1?
Yeah, and this is tough. This is like trying to do the top 5s on Dan's CWK Live when there's like 15 things I want to put, and it's always you got to put 5. So, but I'm glad you did 3 because it keeps it kind of under control. So my first one was, I think, because after I read yours, I'm like, oh, I really like yours. But my first one was the real reveal of the Colossus as a mobile space station at the end of season 1. That was really cool. And I didn't see that coming. So that was really cool, that reveal. That was a really cool thing. And so I put that as number 1. I'm not, I have way more than 3, but that's my first one. How about you?
Oh, that's a good one too, because I remember when that happened. I remember everybody was there was a little bit of comfort with that, like, oh great, now we got Stargate Atlantis going on there. When it took off. But that was really cool. I like that. And that's something we hadn't talked about. The whole series isn't just based on Castellon, where the Colossus was based. They end up having to leave Castellon and run from the First Order, which was pretty much the entire second season. Yeah. For me, my number 1, and it actually is my absolute favorite moment from this series. To me, there's no topping this moment. And it is when Poe Dameron and Kaz, I can't even talk straight because I'm wanting to laugh so much. They board a ship, a freighter that had been attacked by pirates, looking for survivors, and they end up being attacked by a bunch of Kowakian monkey lizards.
Mm-hmm.
And they are just like all over Kaz, and they're just like jumping on them and biting them, and they're fighting them off, trying to. And I love one. I mean, there's just even one scene where Poe comes running into the room, and Kaz is just covered by monkey lizards, and he pulls out his blaster and he fires a shot in the air, and all of a sudden a monkey falls down at his feet. He looks down, he's like, whoops. I'm like, come on.
No matter what, you're gonna hit one.
Yeah. I absolutely loved it. It to me, that was my absolute favorite from any of these series. It probably, for me, the funniest moment. It has to be one of the funniest moments in all of Star Wars.
That is good. That is funny stuff. And needed, like we said, because of some of the serious stuff. But no, that is good. You want me to do my number 2?
Yep. Go ahead. Take it. Number 2, my friend.
And Aaron mentioned our guy, our unofficial mascot. I put OP Pit sightings. Aaron and I got so geeked. I know that as we were watching the series unfold, we were always looking for OP Pit around every corner and every shot. And so we would always be talking about him. And so that was big stuff for us if there was OP Pit sightings. And so I really, those were just some of my favorite moments is seeing him, his little cleaning gadget there, his little scrubber, and just his little antics. So OP Pit sightings is my number 2.
Good old OP Pit, dude. I love that. I love that janitor. Mainly because I was I think probably because I was a janitor in college. So at a church. So I relate to the guy because I ran those sweepers at that church. So anywho, number 2 for me actually doesn't come from the series, but it comes from one of the 12 shorts that was released. And that one was the one entitled Buggles Day Out. Absolutely hysterical. The short's only like a minute and a half, if that. It's a minute 12, minute 13, if that. But in the episode, Tora Doza asks Kaz to pretty much babysit her pet, which is this large ball of fur with long legs named Buggles. And Buggles escapes and is running all over the place. Kaz is trying to catch it without Tora finding out. And it ends with Buggles flying off in the fireball. And Tora walking up and going, Kaz, who's flying the fireball? And Kaz is like, Buggles. And it ends with Tora going, what? As it flies off. So we never see we never see how Buggles gets back, but it was absolutely hysterical. I loved that short. Out of the 12 they did, that was my favorite of the 12.
And Buggles, he is a Vorpak.
Yes.
I'm looking at my sheet. Loosely based on some of the Macquarie art, but they made him a Vorpak instead of a Yuzum and stuff. So that little bit of trivia there on Buggles. And I did like seeing Buggles in different episodes with Tora Doza. So that's a good call. My number 3 is at the end of the series. I'd watched that again. Aaron and I were talking about getting through it. I didn't get through every one like he did. I wish I did. But going back to the series finale, that 2-part series finale, and you see Kylo Ren, of course, voiced by Matt Wood, right, who does Roger, right? I wish it was
Adam Driver.
But he did a great job with it. But it's Kylo Ren showing no mercy on Agent Tyranny, there at the end. She was really getting her comeuppance. They cut away from it. and her Star Destroyer. And of course, I ended up seeing that thing getting blown up. But I really liked that component. And, that really fits with later here when I mentioned my favorite episode is when they had, Phasma and Kylo Ren and Poe Dameron in these episodes. That's when I really felt like it was its best. And it was more than just the kiddie show that it was. It was more along the lines of the sequel trilogy and stuff. So I really liked seeing him in his anger dealing with her. So that was pretty cool. How about you?
Awesome. For me, my third one that I put down was from actually the finale of season 1. It's where Kaz finally ends up taking out Major Von Reg. He is chasing down Poe Dameron. Von Reg is chasing down Poe Dameron around the Colossus, and Poe can't shake him and is calling for help. And Kaz comes shooting through the superstructure, just like you would see in some other shows, but he's piloting himself through the superstructure to cut him off, and times it just right, comes shooting out, blasting, and Von Reg has nowhere to go and just bursts in the flames. And that is the end of Major Von Reg, who had been a thorn in their side all through season 1.
Yeah, and he's in actually my favorite episode when we get to that. But I really like that character, and like you said earlier, the red armor, the red ship. Oh, really sharp looking.
Now, I do have to do an honorable mention, and I did not put it in the notes, David. I'm sorry. But I do have to do this honorable mention for favorite moments, because I could have, I debated for the longest time whether to do Von Reg or whether to do this other moment. And I kept flipping them back and forth. But one of the other shorts, the 12 shorts that they did mid first season, was entitled When Thieves Drop By. And it was literally about a thief coming in and trying to rob Flix and Orca. And it is the funniest thing I have ever watched. Not as funny as the Monkey Lizards, but this is right up there with it, because they go over the top and acting like they're scared. Oh, take anything you want. Take all our credits. Take this, take that. They pile him so high with stuff, the guy can't move. Then they hit the trap door and he falls out the bottom of the Colossus.
Yeah.
And they're like, thanks for shopping. And they put all their stuff up. And a little while later, the guy's brother comes in and goes with the guns, like, my brother was in here. Where'd he go? And they're like, oh no, he already robbed us. But then he just disappeared. Move to your left, a little more to your left, a little more. He was right there when he disappeared. They hit the button and he disappears. I mean, it's just another minute and a half of just straight comedy. But if you want to know who Flix and Orca are, that's where you go to watch it, because it is priceless.
Those guys, they're funny. They're a 1-2 combo. They're really good.
Oh, they truly are. It was quite enjoyable to watch those two. And they even had some of the episodes during the series that they had some major parts in, that they played a major part of, told and had some stories about them, like when they went to Flix's cousin's planet to get fuel for the Colossus, and there was the one where they left to go on a trip and ended up leaving Kaz in charge of the acquisition shop. I mean, just little things here and there that just worked out perfectly. And they just really definitely made a huge contribution to the show as a secondary character.
Nice. Yeah, they did.
All right. Well, let's keep going here. Let's talk about our favorite episodes, because we are running out of time. What is your favorite episode, David?
Yeah, like I was mentioning, going back through and looking at my show notes, I got back to it pretty quickly. and it's season 1, episode 11, Station Theta Black, and the Aaron and I would do the Disney Plus little synopsis for each Ahsoka part or episode. Well, I put it right here. It says Kaz and Poe investigate a First Order mining facility, and this is what I was mentioning before, like when Aaron had mentioned Major Vonreg. He's in this with some TIE fighters. You got the X-Wings, you got Poe and Kaz, both in X-Wings. They go to this station. It's a First Order station where they're mining Deadlanite. And it's so cool because you see Phasma show up in that one of those Epsilon shuttles that not Poe, but Kylo Ren uses. It's just gorgeous when you see it fly in, and again you've got Poe there from the sequel trilogy and Kaz, and not only that, and some really cool action with Poe and Kaz and BB-8 and CB-23 trying to get away from Phasma and First Order troopers. But you also get this really cool scene at the beginning. Is it at the beginning and then later on? Is that right? Yes, it is. Where Kaz gets to meet Leia. And that was really cool. So here, again, tying into the sequel trilogy and stuff. And at the end, watching it again last night, Aaron, I was like, ooh, I got to bring this up, especially after seeing the Ahsoka series. You see Kaz and Poe come back with this data because BB-8 recorded it before the station blew up. And Kaz is looking at Leia and says, if the senators are anything like my father, they won't believe this type of information.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, there it is. Here's Kaz saying, yeah, my dad doesn't believe that stuff. My dad is difficult. And I didn't remember any of that, from that many years ago. But I thought that was pretty cool. Ties right into what we saw in Hera standing in front of Ziono, Senator Ziono, and him, not believing anything that Hera was saying. And here's Kaz saying it 5 years ago. So for multiple reasons, just loved it. All the things in there, TIE fighters, X-Wings, Poe, Phasma, Leia. I don't know if it was a Tantive 4, but it was a Corellian Corvette. No. It was what is the Tantive 4? The Tantive E4. That's a
Corvette.
Is that a Corellian Corvette?
The Blockade Runner. Blockade Runner.
Yeah, Blockade Runner.
Runner.
And so they showed that in there, and Leia's in there, and so it had everything I wanted, and so again, that's why it's my favorite episode. Just cool from start to finish.
Very good, very good, very good. All right, so for me, my favorite episode is from season 1, the 7th episode, 8th, depending if you count the pilot as 2 episodes, or the premiere is 2 episodes. And it's called Signal from Sector 6. This actually is the episode with all the Kowakian monkey lizards. It's by far my favorite, mainly just because the amount of time I spent rewinding and laughing my butt off, then rewinding and laughing my butt off some more. Because the whole scene with Poe and the monkey lizards, it was incredible. But it's also where they rescue, or think they're rescuing, Senara San. And this is where because she's not, Tam's not the only one with redemption journey. She is as well. And this is where her journey begins. And the change in her life begins in this moment. So was very happy with that. So
yeah.
All right.
Notice you and I both picked episodes from season 1, and I really liked that as well. And of course, both the ones I did not know you were going to pick that, and both our episodes have Kaz and Poe together.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They definitely do, because they did make an outstanding pair in the series. It was fun seeing them together. We didn't see them together in the second season as much. I think Poe only showed up once, maybe. I don't even think Poe showed up in the second season.
I know. I'd have to think about
No,
that.
he did it because he had already switched off. Yeah, he was gone by then, because
Okay.
it was like the episode before the finales when they switch off. He gives them CB-23 and he takes BB-8 because he's on his way to Jakku.
Yes.
And in the
Yes.
finale is when you have the animated recreation of General Hux's Star Killer base speech, where right before they destroy Hosnian Prime.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he was gone by then. So he never showed up in second season.
Okay. Okay.
Never showed up in the second season. That's right. Because instead of Kaz showing up, they brought in Venezia Doza.
Yes. Yes. She comes in and helps with the resistance.
Yes.
Yep.
So very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into final reactions. Of what our final thoughts are on the 5th anniversary of Resistance about this series, dude. I'll go first because to me this was a fabulous series. I have I will say I probably have a little bit of beer goggles on for this. I do feel unequivocally that it's underrated, and I do think there are, if people would go in and watch the series, don't go in expecting Clone Wars, don't go in expecting Rebels, go in expecting Phineas and Ferb, and you will probably enjoy the series a lot more. I know a couple people that tried watching it and they're just like, it's just not like Clone Wars. I'm like, no, it's not. It's its own series. Because that's what they were expecting, because this came off of the heels of Rebels finishing up. But if you give it a chance for what it is as a kid's show involving Star Wars, it's a little bit more grown up than I would say the young Jedi adventures that are out right now. But it's still a kid show, but it is well done. It's fabulous animation, fabulous storytelling, fabulous acting, fabulous music. It is well done, absolutely well done. And I said this, I know, multiple times when we were reviewing the show as Resistance reactions, but my hat's off to that whole cast and crew. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and admit and tell you that every episode is absolutely golden, because it's not. You can go back and listen to our reviews. They're still available if you go back in the history on our podcast feed. There are some episodes that I remember us sitting there going, ouch. I remember talking to you before recording going, how do we review this? Because this was just not their best work. And we really had to work to find good things to say about it. And we would admit and tell you that, we weren't big fans, but this is what we liked. I have one off the top of my head is the Vox Vortex 5000, the one where they go to that Hutt's casino and do all the racing. To me, that just wasn't, it was just missing something. And it just wasn't all there, but there were some highlights in there that were good. They had gotten back to racing, but it's one of those things that it's still overall, despite an episode here or there like that, it was still a fantastic series. It's still a fantastic story that does not get the respect it's due. So I would definitely recommend just going in with a clear head. If you do want to give it a shot, go in with a clear head, no expectations. Don't expect Rebels, don't expect Resistance, or don't expect Rebels, don't expect Clone Wars. Expect Resistance, but don't expect the previous animated series. And just have fun with it, because there is a lot of fun and a lot of history in these episodes.
Yeah.
How about you, my friend?
Yeah, you know what I did is I wanted to read, my notes that we did. The final episodes aired January 26th,
Yeah.
2020, and I'm looking at my notes. We recorded January 28th of 2020, and here are my final thoughts that night. I put down, this is kind of fun to go back in time on this little time capsule. I enjoyed this series. Admittedly, there were times in both seasons where I was struggling to enjoy the show. In season 2, I was hurting with the Vox Vortex 5000 and Kaz's Curse. That's the one that Aaron was mentioning, that hot one, the Vox Vortex 5000
Yep.
and Kaz's Curse. And Aaron's right. There's times we jumped on and we're talking to each other and we're like, what do we do? And so that's us being honest, right? It's not saying we like everything. There were some episodes that just weren't good, and there was really good ones like the 2 that Aaron and I mentioned. They're just outstanding. I wrote down, however, the remainder of season 2 is excellent. Great episodes in a sprint to the finish. I mentioned diversity and how Christopher Sean mentioned that there's Asian American, African American, Hispanic American representation in the voice actors and the characters. I talked about that. That was pretty cool. Well, here it is, and Aaron mentioned it earlier. Have to mention, I said here, I think the show was hurt in many ways. The last Jedi controversy. I think, what did I have here? Mando and Clone Wars announcement before the finale. I think because that Clone Wars is coming back, right, for
Yes.
season 7. So those kind of things took that attention off. Another one of my final thoughts, I put Opie Pitt, love him. Love Opie Pitt. And I did. I said thank you to the cast, crew, creators. They put in a ton of hard work, and it showed. And then every week, kind of like Aaron and I mentioned, we tried to bring something to the table with this. I did a creature corner. Aaron did the Niku saying of the week. We didn't have a Niku saying of the week, but I actually tallied up the creature corner, and here it is. We didn't have any new ones in the 2-part series finales, but we had a total, as best as I could do. Season 1, 35 creatures. Season 2, 12 for a total of 47 different creatures in the creature corner. So we had fun with that. Grades, Aaron and I both gave it an A+. And we had emails. And look, I didn't realize there's 2 long emails from Rebel Base Card. We know that guy, Greg McLaughlin. Hey, Greg, shout out to you, brother. He's always shouting us out in his podcast. And so he had emailed us back then. So that was really cool. And then I wrote down that we made the announcement of Star Wars reactions. And so there you go. So there's a little blast from the past. And it was just fun going back through that, looking at all these notes, looking at some episodes, and just going over some of it with you, buddy.
Oh, absolutely. It was fantastic. And I'm glad you brought that up. I was actually going to ask you if you had the total count from Creature Corner. So you brought that up without me having to mention it. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. We would love to hear from y'all. What were your thoughts about Resistance? Did y'all enjoy it? Did you have fun with it? What were your thoughts? Tell us what you think. You can hit us up on any of our social medias, which of course are Facebook and Twitter at SW Reactions Pod. Then Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and Tumblr at SW Reactions. If you like YouTube, we're still actually, and I don't understand why I never mentioned this, but we've been on YouTube since day one. So SW Reactions on YouTube. We don't have any videos there, but you can actually listen to the show there as well. You can listen to the whole episodes there as well if you prefer. But then we also, of course, you can email us anytime, swreactions@gmail.com, or you can always leave us a SpeakPipe voice message at speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions.
Nice.
Well, David, if somebody wants to talk to you about Star Wars Reactions or about Star Wars in general, how would they go about doing that, my friend?
Absolutely. One is Twitter X, right? That's at David_Modders, Modders. The others, just look up my name for Instagram. There's that. And then you can, of course, email us, swreactions@gmail.com. So, yeah, there's 3 different ways.
Very good. Very good. And of course, if you want to talk Star Wars with me, you can always hit me up. The best place is Twitter at SW. At SW Reactions Pod. That's, of course, I do monitor the show feed. But if you want my personal, it's at TA Harris 121079. You can always hit me up there and let me know what you want to talk Star Wars. You can let me know how awesome the dad joke of the week is. Or you can let David know how bad it is. It's up to y'all. So, which brings me to the best part of the show. And no, I'm not talking about the end. Jeez, guys, that hurts. Talking about the Star Wars dad joke of the week.
Oh, here we go. The groan.
I really need a theme song right there, man. I gotta find one. Yes. Star Wars dad joke of the week. Here we go. David, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. How is the First Order like a shark in a fight?
Ooh. How are the First Order like a shark in a fight?
Give up?
I give up.
All right, here we go. By the end, they're both missing a fin.
That's a good one. That is not a groaner. That is a good one. That is good, buddy.
They're both missing a fin.
Oh my gosh.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. David, this has been a blast, my friend.
Great time reminiscing and going back in the Wayback Machine. Not way back, a little way back.
Absolutely. It was a nice throwback here. So thank you everybody for joining us. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Be kind, be nice to somebody. Take care of yourselves as well. Because we care for you. We want y'all to be at your best. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.